There was a hearing yesterday addressing violence against LGBTQ plus people. And Brandon Wolf spoke at this hearing. Brandon Wolf is the press secretary for an organization called Equality Florida, an anti-hate organization. Must be difficult to have to be a part of an anti-hate organization in this environment with that governor, with attacks on similar organizations. I think it was in Tallahassee when they threw the brick through that window. Very difficult and admirable work. Here he is addressing the House Oversight Committee. And by the way, I should say, Brandon survived the Pulse nightclub shooting. And here he is speaking about the attacks on gay, trans, queer people by people like Governor Ron DeSantis, who is the governor of his state.
For years, cynical politicians and greedy grifters have joined forces with right-wing extremists to pour gasoline on anti-LGBTQ hysteria and terrorize our community. My own governor, Ron DeSantis, has trafficked in that bigotry to feed his insatiable political ambition and propel himself toward the White House. We have been smeared and defamed. Hundreds of bills have been filed in order to erase us. Powerful figures have insisted that the greatest threats this country face are a teacher with they, them pronouns or someone in a wig reading red fish, blue fish. And all along we warned that these short-sighted political maneuvers would come with a human cost, but they've continued anyway. Even as queer kids told us that they were scared, that life was getting less safe for them, even as hate violence has escalated, as children's hospitals have faced mounting bomb threats, as armed protesters started showing up at pride festivals and brunches, as a donut shop in Oklahoma was firebombed for daring to host a drag show, even as 5 innocent people in Colorado Springs went into a space that was supposed to be safe for them and came out in body bags. The attacks have continued. We can be better than that. We have to be better than that. Right-wing extremism relies on this manufactured belief that its poison is inevitable, that resistance is hopeless, but I contend that taking a stand is necessary, that it is our duty. We need to say without apology that people who endanger entire marginalized communities for social media content and fundraising fodder have no place in our politics. We need to hold accountable those who traffic in venomous bigotry to score cheap political points. We need to address how our obsession with easy access to guns takes dangerous hatred and makes it fatal. And we need to say unequivocally right here, right now, that LGBTQ lives matter, that trans lives matter, and that in this country that is not up for debate.
You can tell why he's the press secretary, right? Like, he knows how the public speak.
Yeah, and he knew, and he also, I think what's great too about this clip is he summarizes very succinctly and concisely who he's like kind of calling out besides Ron DeSantis and not by name is like people like Libs of TikTok and Chris Rufo.
Yeah.
And understanding that they are the pipeline that leads to these attacks happening.
Yes.
And it's important, I think, for this to be said, like in the halls of Congress, that this is not just an online, it's only in the Twitter echo chambers. This stuff does actually lead to violence. I
mean, I just headlined it that dozens of hospitals and healthcare providers are facing increased threats and just terror, really, from in many states in this country right now at this point. And it's because there are groups like Libs of TikTok that are publicizing information and targeting providers and anybody essentially who affirms trans people and provides gender affirming care for them. I saw that Elon Musk this morning was tweeting about how he's going to take down any accounts that dox the whereabouts of people in real time and dox people, because that was his justification for taking down the account that tracked his private jet, which he said he wouldn't do a month earlier. And people were responding, well, okay, Libs of TikTok is going to go. No, it's not. because that kind of hate account is, now that this billionaire owns this major social media company, that he agrees with it ideologically, so it'll stay up.
It's American as apple pie. A country that had 100 years ago a problem with lynchings to the point where Congress wouldn't act on it because basically, I mean, I say this, like, libs of TikTok 100 years ago would be like N-word lovers of TikTok. That's where that person would be at.
I mean, yeah. What's this here? Bradley's pulling something.
So someone just note when they were talking about how Elon Musk had basically changed the rules to basically specifically prohibit people like the Elon Musk flight tracker from releasing information. They also then released a new rule that essentially just explicitly outlines kind of a carve out for what like accounts like libs of TikTok do.
Can you put it up on the screen here? You may not share private media, such as images or videos of private individuals without their consent. However, we recognize that there are instances where users may share images or videos of private individuals who are not public figures as part of a newsworthy event or to further public discourse on issues or events of public interest. In such cases, we may allow the media to remain on the platform.
I guess libs of TikTok will be doing a lot of furtherance of public discourse.
You know what the public discourse was that was also relevant would be the fact that this billionaire is flying all over the place, taking 12-minute flights from one side of San Francisco to the other, and now owns a major communications platform. Not to make this all about Elon Musk, but who
posted a video of somebody he alleges was like stalking him last night. In a way that was a private individual, and I don't know how that's really a public interest.
Did that further the public discourse?
Except there's any interest there. Like, if that guy's genuinely stalking you, talk to the authorities.
Yeah.
Don't break your rules that you just imposed on the platform to carve out for libs of TikTok.
He has no plan beyond tomorrow, this guy. But yeah, I mean, that's well said, and it's necessary because there's going to be a lot of justifiable happiness, completely understandable, about the signing of the Respect for Marriage Act, which enshrines protections for same-sex couples and interracial couples in this country. There will be happiness about that, and there should be. But the point is that we are so far from this fight being over. We are in the middle of a resurgence of hate against gay and trans people in this country, and it's affecting lives. It's being enshrined into legislation. Ron DeSantis, as Brandon was discussing there, is at the forefront of it with the Don't Say Gay bills, and now people are having to flee different states in this country in order to just ensure that their children are able to access care and that they're able to live in peace when their children are accessing care. I'd encourage everybody to look up this Vice News report where they followed 3 families in Texas who are having to flee and choosing to do so, and just what you see in their desperation to just make sure that their child is safe and happy, and what that's doing to them, and how they fear for their neighbors, that they're going to be reported to the authorities because they provide gender-affirming care for their children. That the Respect for Marriage Act might have been one great step forward, but we're taking many steps back on a daily basis right now with LGBTQ hate.
Oh, yeah.
And it's the same thing with, like, knowing that Vice piece speaks to how this stuff has these, like Sam says, you and Sam say this all the time, but like, this stuff, like when Roe was overturned, this is not theoretical. This is not academic. These, like, as much as Republicans and conservative media and members of Congress don't want it to have actual material repercussions, that's at their feet. It doesn't matter whether they're saying, "Oh, well, that's not what we intended." I don't care what you intended. Someone has to deliver an ectopic pregnancy. Yep. Someone has to deliver a malformed fetus because of a complication.
And it is what they intended.
And regardless, you can window dress and say, "The left made me do it." That's not true. You made yourself do it.
Yep.
And it's the same thing here. The Colorado Springs shooting, the gender affirming care centers being under attack. All of this is manifest because of their rhetoric and their actions. And if you even think that something is or seemingly anodyne as a same-sex marriage bill being codified at the federal level, after what we saw about Brandon's comments. Let's just see what Laura Ingraham had to say about all that.
Here we go.
Now, as we just mentioned with Governor DeSantis, Joe Biden held kind of an over-the-top celebration, this extravaganza.
Stop rubbing our face in it.
Named the Respect for Marriage Act, a bill that moves to restrict freedom of religion and freedom of speech even, meaning whether you're Catholic or evangelical or maybe Muslim, any serious person of faith, you will not necessarily have the rights tomorrow that you had yesterday. But like Pelosi made famous, Biden tried to frame this as protecting the children.
Yeah. I don't understand how anybody has woken up this morning with less rights. Their rights have been expanded, but they have to present rights as a zero-sum game.
Even if I believed that, I'd be like, can you slow down? What happened to me?
Yeah,
my
right. Right. My marriage has been diminished. That's so half-hearted too. Like I know we're in the middle of yes, as we say, a resurgence of hate. But like even Laura Ingraham there, I don't know how much she believes that. Really over the top ceremony because Sam Smith and Cyndi Lauper performed.
That was over the top.
Their messaging has to speak to two audiences. One is the horrible bigots who really resent that gay marriage was legalized in this country, and the other is the naive dumbasses who think that the GOP has actually turned the corner on the issue. So when they act like, oh, rub our faces and all this sort of meta critique on it, they can speak to both those people at the same time without actually showing which side they come down on.